Okay, great. Far. Let me be efficient with your time and respectful. I want to tell you a little bit about this system that I put together, the Ascension protocol through Everest longevity. Ultimately, I want to be a resource for you. I'm going to start this little screen share here. All right, Everest longevity. I've been helping people build the best life that they possibly can for the past 20 plus years. And this is a culmination of that work, as well as, I believe, an augmentation and improvement. I'm building on top of a foundation, which is also what I expect you to do as well. So we all want more in life. We're going to try to get the most out of every moment. However, we're always getting pulled in a zillion directions, right? Just think of, for example, if you tweaked your shoulder and you went to your doctor, the doctor's going to say, just rest it, it'll get better. But then maybe you went to a Pilates teacher, the Pilates teacher said, with proper stretching, we can get this fixed. Then you went to a physical therapist. The physical therapist said, we're going to give you some corrective exercise to, rebuild the musculature of that shoulder and get everything balanced. You had a personal trainer, you have a personal trainer that you work with. The trainer says, no big deal. We need to do some soft tissue work and re-strengthen it. Okay. So those are 4 or so different professionals, all with a completely different opinion of what you should do to get that shoulder tweak ironed out. Now, maybe each one of them is right on some level. Maybe it's a combination of 2 or 3 of them. But the fact is, you're sitting there hearing conflicting reasoning from 4 different credible sources. And that, I would say, is the story of our lives today. Whether it's how you build your career, how you advance, how you move up, how you interact with your family, friends, community, how you raise your kids. There's a zillion different opinions out there. And at the end of the day, the default is just the decisions that we choose to make for right or for wrong. And so when we're talking about optimization, we're trying to get the maximum out of what we have at our available to us. That being said, I'm not coming at this as a guru. I'm not somebody that's going to tell you what to do. I want to partner with you. I want to sit on the same side of the table as you. I want to help you sift through all of the disparate opinions and information out there. You also chat GPT and all the other AI sources out there that can also give you some good insight, but the output is as good as the input, so to speak. So if we're not asking the right questions, if we're not probing deep enough, we're again going to get surface answers that are conflicting. So at the end of the day, it's about growth, and it's about getting better and improving. I am a self-improvement junkie. I love taking new courses. I love learning new things. I love nerding out on minutia with the hope that it will then give me a measurable percentage improvement. And I know that if I do 1% improvements in various area of my life, I'm going to see a, maybe not exponential, but I'm going to see a greater than the sum of the parts improvement in other areas. Ultimately, we need to get more time back, because these phones sitting in our pockets, are the biggest tool and the biggest detriment to our daily living. It allows us to, send emails out while we're sitting on the toilet. But at the same time, you might spend 20 to 40 minutes or more a day just simply scrolling through inane videos that were designed to grab your attention and keep you glued to this thing constantly. So regaining balance, regaining time, getting more organized, being able to truly have a system in place that allows us to filter out all of the gobbledygook and really come up with a trajectory and a direction and a directive as to where we're trying to get to in life. And then everything else falls by the wayside. And sure, are you going to spend time doing things that aren't optimal. Of course, I'm not talking about being a robot, but I'm talking about taking back control, not being the goalie constantly, having to, you know, next thing we know is we got to go to a practice for, take the kids to the games and to the practice. And then there's an event that you forgot you signed up for. And then you've got a work call that you have to squeeze in between all this stuff. It literally is insane. And as a society, we somehow have signed up for all of this. And I'm not going to bury my head in the sand. I'm not going to pretend like I can just fight through it to get to some retirement age where it's all going to miraculously get better. I think we're going to be working our butts off and potentially never retiring. It's more about having the luxury to work less or the organization to work less. And that's what I'm kind of pushing to you here. I want to give you certainty. I want to give you the ability to know that the time and the energy that you're spending is time well spent, and that it is an additive process, not a reductive process. So the more, it's not about, more is not more, right? We need to be able to become extremely efficient and focused so that the things that we do have impact and leave a lasting mark and legacy, either on our own individual lives or the people's lives who we come in contact and affect. So again, if we're talking about playing the game of life and wanting to win, there is offense and there is defense. Defense, in my mind, is all the things you can do to protect what you have and protect your energy, protect your financial assets, protect the relationships that you have, protect your health. These are things that we have proven and seen time and time again in disparate fields, again, that have overlap and have synergy. And what I'm saying is that, again, in the shoulder tweak example I mentioned above, all of them involved doing something with your body, whether it was resting it or whether it was working it. They were basically still saying, you're going to have to do something with it, with your body. It's just not going to go away. So if we have a really great defense, that's going to prevent us from losing points. And then we can also have a really great offense and we can put points on the board. This is me and some of the people in my life who are the most valuable persons in my world. I'm big on family. I'm big on tradition. I'm big on relationships. So upper left, you've got my in-laws and my kids. Then we've got my side of the family, my mom, my sister, my brother-in-law, and their kids. And then down in the bottom, I've got a bunch of guys I go hunting with. I love the traditions. I love the camaraderie. I love being in the outdoors. And here's me. Also I'll represent Pittsburgh. As far as offense and defense are concerned, I think a good defense is the best offense. And I love a good steak. Sous vide, medium rare, charred on the outside. And then, when I'm restoring myself, I will put time in my sauna. And I love cooking my body, my actual self, at about 198 degrees for upwards of an hour if possible. I think my thumb is pruning up there. I've been in there so long, but I really see it as restorative and again, highly additive to my overall well-being. So here we are, Everest Longevity. This is my company that sits on top of my fitness company. So Atomic here in the center, established in 2009, personal training brand. We've done tens of thousands of hours of personal training in the New York City and tri-state area. And that comes from all of the experience that you see below here kind of leads to Everest Longevity. So got my systems engineering degree from Virginia Tech in 2002, moved to New York. And while I was at Virginia Tech, I fell in love with martial arts. So I was a big lacrosse player, played on the Virginia Tech lacrosse team for a year, for a season, and then kind of burned out on that. Said, well, what else can I do with my time while I'm getting this engineering degree? I ended up walking into a martial arts school in 1998. And I've been in that, and I've done martial arts ever since. So martial arts, college, graduation. I felt like I could take on the world. September 11th happened, my senior year in college. And I said, you know what? When people stop following their crazy dreams and running off to the big city to make it happen, that's when the terrorists have really won. So I moved to New York to do stand-up comedy in 2002. Performed a bunch of stand-up and improv at the People's Improv Theater, was in over 70 television commercials, um, ended up being on the Impractical Jokers with my buddies that are on that show, Marcel Quinn and who else? And Joe. And anyway, so also ended up on the Live with Kelly and Michael show. That was when it was Live with Kelly and Michael, then became Kelly and Ryan, and then eventually it's Kelly and her husband. I don't know his name off the top of my head. Moved to the suburbs, joined the fire department. The pandemic was really tough on my business. In order to kind of make ends meet and also to do a pivot, I ended up working for a spine implants company called ATEC. Was in over 200 spine surgeries in 2 years, working with surgeons, advising on how to do implant surgery. Actually did some operations myself on cadavers. Saw really the mechanics, the true underlying mechanics of the spinal engine and how it relates to physicality, and also how if we don't take care of ourselves, we're going to end up on the business end of a surgeon's knife. And then more recently, I partnered with a financial firm that is affiliated with the Guardian, and this is more from a financial analysis and diagnostic standpoint, being able to look at the way people are set up. If you're going to live 20 to 30 years longer into retirement than we expected when we started work, 20 years ago, then we need to make the necessary adjustments in how we plan for that. So what is this Everest longevity ascension protocol? Well, ultimately, we want to create alignment. And when we create alignment in our world, in our immediate world, it becomes very clear who we are, what we're all about, what we're trying to accomplish. And once we have that alignment, everything else really falls into place rather quickly. From a physical perspective, why are we trying to get into the best shape of our life when we should technically already be there, and maintaining that asymptotically rather than trying to get into the best shape and saying, oh, this is a peak and then it's going to drop off? Why not constantly improve to the point where we're living at a normal state that is close to optimal? Same thing with the connections in our world. We've got ourselves, our family, our communities, our work, all the people that we interact with, as well as the environment of our home, our more global environment, as far as, I'm not saying becoming an activist, but at least having an impact as to, some people put solar panels on their house or they drive an electric car. How much does that truly move the needle? Or is it just is it just one of a million things that we need to do to try to make the world a better place? So again, I'm not advocating for solar panels or electric vehicles. I'm just saying these are the type of thoughts we go through that require a deep dive. And if every single decision we make requires a deep dive, other than being paralyzed, we end up probably making less than optimal decisions, because we're literally just trying to get it over with and move on to the next thing. So if somebody calls you enough times telling you to put solar panels on your house, it's like, okay, you know what, fine, it sounds good from what you're saying, so let's just do it. But you live in the Northeast, you don't get sun 200 out of the 365 days. How efficient is that decision really? And was it just a keen marketing that worked? And then as far as legacy is concerned, you start with the end in mind. When you have the alignment, you know who you are, what you're all about, what your family's all about, what you're trying to accomplish in your professional life, and where you want to get to. This kind of fills in on its own, but it's an area worth touching on, just to make sure that all the boxes are checked and all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So ultimately, if anything that I've just said in this short little talk has resonated with you, and you want to explore what it looks like to create your own dream state within your world, then we should connect. And just have a talk. It's not a strategy call. It is not a sales call. I don't want to sell anything. I only want to work with people that want to partner with me to really transform and take a deep dive and really go all in. That being said, because I am a go-getter, I have very little availability left. I want to connect with you. If this is interesting, reach out and we can find a time to talk and see if there's a way for me to help you out. And if I'm booked up, fine, we can still chat, and we can, put you on the waiting list, so to speak. So anyway, much love, appreciate the time, and look forward to connecting with you.